Hello there, Egil Thorsson. I've got a nice story for you today. It dates from the 12th century and it was told by a Walter Mapp, and I'll try and say this. He's in his book De Nugis Curialium. I leave that to you to decide what that actually says. And it's set before the Saxons came here. And there was a king called King Herla. And it was a tradition that was carried on for centuries and centuries that the king moved around his kingdom basically to see what was going on and to be seen and to get any ideas of rebellion out the way. So King Herla rode with a retinue. Makes sense. And as they rode, they saw a diminutive king. Now by diminutive, I mean short, a dwarf. "Hail and well met, good fellow," said the king. The king actually took off his cap. "Hail and well met to you, your majesty. Where are you going around like this? I've never seen your like before." "Ah," said the king, "we're having a wedding. Would you like to come?" The king looked at his man and thought, "Free food and ale for my men? Yeah, of course I will. Thank you very much." And off they rode following the dwarf. And they entered this massive cave. Echoes, there were stalactites. Stalactites go up and stalagmites go down. So, the T, top, M, bottom. And there were crystals of beauty there. There was quartz, fluorspars, bit of blue john. So that puts us in Derbyshire, doesn't it? Anyway, all these minerals, and they've been craftily altered subtly, not to spoil their beauty, but to enhance it. And there was pools of cool, clear water, and they went down and down and down. And as they went, it became more and more fabulous, the colours of the minerals. And the king was highly impressed. "Your Majesty," said one of his followers, "it's a wonderful place, this. How come we've never seen it before?" The dwarf king turned round and said, "Because you're in the land of fairy, my lords. Things are very different here. But come, our guests are waiting." So down they went, and even more fabulous. There were now precious stones. There were diamonds, rubies, and all kinds of wonderful jewels glittering, and they were reflected in the water, the ponds, and the gravels had been settled. And at last they came. There it was, this massive cave, and all kinds of dwarven and elves were there. And along came the groom with his attendants, dressed finely in purple silk, and behind him his attendant carrying a sword. Well, it was more like a sheath knife to us, but it was a sword to them. And then came the most beautiful looking dwarf you could ever see. She had a white garland of flowers about her. And up came their priest, blessed them, and in short they got married. Now, the marriage ceremony done, the king and his retinue were invited to the wedding breakfast. There was honey cake, there was mead, there was wine that was white wine that was sweet, beautiful red wine. There was bits of wild boar. There were cakes, there were bread, and all kinds of wonderful sweetmeats. The king took from him this magnificent necklace as a wedding gift. It was a sign of good faith. I mean, after all, they'd laid all this on. And the king and his retinue sat there, and it seemed as though it was probably about 8 hours. "Would you like to stay the night?" said the king. "Yes, I'd love to." So the king and his retinue, basically they were sleeping one off. thank you so much for your wonderful hospitality. Thank you for the gift you gave us. A gift demands a gift, as I believe your Norse gods say. So, gave him some gold, gave him a small barrel of mead, and he gave him a little dog. Your Majesty, he said, be aware. You must keep riding until the little dog gets down. Do not dismount for any reason if the dog still stays. Okay, that seems fair enough, for gifts can be magical, especially from the land of fairy. And off the king rode his magnificent horse, and they came out of the cave into the broad daylight. "Whoa, that was some party, Your Majesty," said one of his bodyguards. "You can say that again. Oh, do you know what? I drank so much and yet I don't have a hangover. Yeah, and that honey cake, oh, it was so delicious. I wished I knew how to make it. Now, well, and this little dog, Rip! Yeah, it's a nice little fella. Yeah, he seems comfortable on the saddle, Your Majesty. Still, we've got to remember what they told us. Yeah, well, that was there and this is here, I guess." And they rode on, a beautiful clear morning, and there they saw a man working in the fields, an old man. "Old man," he said. The man looked up at him rather strangely. "Do you know the way to my royal palace from here?" The man looked at him. He could barely understand him. He said, "What do you mean? Your palace? We've already got a king." No. I was here the day before yesterday, and No, Your Majesty, he says, the Saxons, they came 200 years ago, and this is why I have difficulty understanding what you're saying. The language has changed." "What? Can this be?" "Well," said his retainer, "I'm not surprised. I've heard stories that these things happen." All of a sudden, his squire and 3 other people got off their horse, and the instant their feet touched the ground, they turned into dust and fell. What's going on? "The dog." "What do you mean?" "The dog is still on your saddle, Your Majesty, and remember what the little man said. Until the dog leaves your saddle, we have to stay riding." And so it is. And so it is. There are legends, even to this day, that the wild hunt goes riding. It's led by Odin, and anybody caught out there will end up joining it. Now, that's the story. Interestingly enough, I have dug around old churches, and by old I mean we're talking 1,000 years. You will find horses' teeth in the churchyard, and that is to ward off the wild hunt. And there are occasions I've heard of people actually seeing the wild hunt. And I have to be honest, hand on heart, I've seen it. But as I'm of the faith, I'm all right. But just bear that in mind. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed telling it to you. And if you'd like to subscribe, press the bar and bell at the top. And if you'd like to leave a comment, also please do. We're always glad to hear from you. But also if you press hashtag Fairytales, you'll find us on there. And your comments are very, very important to us. There's a lot of you and not many of us. I mean, Bragi's rushed off his feet, to be honest with you, quite apart from things outside the channel. But we will get back to you. This is what live streams are about. Maybe you've got some ideas that you'd like to tell us about. After all, this is what your channel as ours. We exist because it's what you want, and we try. It's a family show, so we try to moderate things, and also, you know, we're not here to offend anybody, so, you know, we have to stay within the realms of decency. Anyway, I've been rattling on long enough. We will get back to you, and as I say, what I hope you'll do is stay safe and make the world a happier place. Bye now.